the Gulch is this area right in the middle of Atlanta, sort of dark, dank, no man's land, under the roadway, an extremely difficult, intractable place to develop.
It's a $5 billion project.
It really is going to transform downtown Atlanta.
It was really ambitious. It just looked complicated.
To even start to build one thing, you'd have to invest $800 million.
You have to build these massive structures over active rail lines.
Will people, in fact, come to downtown Atlanta? Tony and his partners only get that money if they perform.
Atlanta, one of the most dynamic cultural engines in America. But as Metro Atlanta has boomed, its original downtown has been left behind until now.
It's called Centennial Yards. We're building 6 million square feet. It'll be 1 million square feet of retail, 5,000 apartments, 500,000 square foot entertainment district.
It's opening up just as the World Cup is coming here.
With billions on the line, a global deadline approaching, and decades of failure behind it, Centennial Yards is the biggest gamble Atlanta has made on its downtown in a generation.
I wish we were further along.
The clock is already ticking.
Tony, here we are, State Farm Arena, home of the Hawks. What's this all about?
The Atlanta community treats MLK weekend as something extraordinarily special. This is the home of Martin Luther King.
Tony Ressler bought the Atlanta Hawks in 2015 for $850 million and hoped to turn a losing franchise into a winner. But bringing life back to the old heart of the city may prove to be an even bigger challenge.
When Martin Luther King came back in 1960, I joined him in 61. We wanted to establish some kind of new world order where we could wipe out the diseases and stigmas of the world that divided us and build one nation, one city under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the 1960s, Auburn Avenue anchored a thriving downtown Atlanta.
Professional sports teams were turning Atlanta into their home at the same time that this place was becoming this sort of cradle of the civil rights movement.
And oh Lord, make sacred the memory of Martin Luther King.
After the 1960s, white flight and suburbanization moved power and investment outward from downtown. And as Atlanta grew, the center of gravity started to shift.
Right after I got in Congress, we started building Highway 285, which circles the city.
You started seeing these other skylines begin to take shape.
My generation coming out of college in the mid-90s, like Atlanta was the place to be.
Atlanta influences everything, whether it's the hip-hop community or it's Tyler Perry Studios, Fortune 500 companies, or the Atlanta University Center.
By the 1990s, Atlanta was a city with a growing global footprint. Winning the 1996 Olympic Games was supposed to bring the world back to downtown.
The summer of '96, being on that Olympic team, playing in the old Georgia Dome, there was a lot of optimism for downtown Atlanta in terms of what the Olympics was going to bring. And I know there was disappointment that it didn't have that impact that everyone thought it could.
When the games ended, downtown failed to hold on to the Olympic momentum. Its many notable attractions and neighborhoods still disconnected from one another due to the massive 40-acre swath of abandoned and undeveloped land.
When the baseball stadium left downtown, which happened just as we purchased the Atlanta Hawks, we had determined then that we thought downtown Atlanta could be a really remarkable transformation if done properly. We had an appreciation that there was this rather large parcel referred to as the Gulch. I guess for the prior 100 years, no one had figured out what to do with it.
The junction of railroads that gave downtown Atlanta its original purpose left an engineering puzzle that no developer had been able to solve.
You have to build up to get at street grid. We estimate that costs $400 million. Second is in the hole, there's no infrastructure. No electricity, no water, no sewer. Maybe what? Another $300 million?
These railways are still running.
Yeah, this is an active rail line,
Okay.
that's an active rail line. The MARTA line runs through right there.
Does that complicate construction?
Extremely. So everything we build has to be on stilts, essentially 40 feet up to match that level of the viaducts.
When Tony came in, he saw that and he asked what it is when he was coming in to do due diligence to buy the team, and explained to him about the railroad and viaducts. And he said, we're going to build LA Live there. And I'm like, sure you are.
Early on, Tony Ressler was made aware of that if it was a really inclusive project that underscored the unique diversity of this city, he stood a chance to be successful. One of Tony's big partners on this deal is also his partner in the Atlanta Hawks, and that's the legendary Grant Hill.
Been in professional sports my entire life. And to now sort of be a steward of a franchise in a sense and have this responsibility, it's important.
Grant played a role in helping Tony assemble this all-star team of investors. It's everyone from Arthur Blank, who owns the Falcons, to 2 Chainz, the famous local rapper.
The Russell family, to John Bryant, to Usher, to Shaq, to Ambassador Andrew Young.
Tony Ressler's a people person. There's nobody that doesn't love him and believe in him.
And then Tony happens to have a brother named Richard Ressler, who's the chairman and founder of CIM Group.
Our friends at CIM, they had successful developments in Los Angeles, Miami, Denver, that took really large, complicated downtown developments. For this to be successful, it wasn't going to be small.
Ressler and the CIM Group would need to convince the city of Atlanta to contribute billions of dollars for Centennial Yards to become a reality.
We came together, negotiated a deal. They said, we will put in the initial investments, so no money from the city. We said we would issue bonds.
I have to admit, we had support and opposition.
Those who oppose the deal are concerned about the use of tax dollars and how the project will affect affordable housing.
Affordable housing is probably the biggest challenge that we have as a city. So when this huge transaction was before me, I had this whole wish list. I said, I want an affordable housing trust fund, equity ownership for minority participation, and the list went on. There was an in lieu of contribution that they would have to make if they didn't hit certain numbers towards affordable housing. And they didn't hit those numbers, and they had to write a very big check for it. That allowed us to create this $28 million affordable housing trust fund. And we got it done.
A Fulton County judge upheld the city's issuance of the bonds, and Centennial Yards could finally move forward.
We think at the end there's going to be upwards of 10,000 jobs that are going to be created. We take on no risk, we put no initial dollars, and yet together we're going to build the tax base, property tax and sales tax. If they do not generate the taxes, there's nothing for them to pay themselves back.
Construction began in 2021 and completion is years away. But another global deadline is much closer, the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Damn, I wish we were further along. We're gonna have some things built. We're gonna absolutely be able to showcase what we're building. We have about 6 separate developments going on simultaneously. Here we're gonna have a 5,300-seat Live Nation concert hall, Cosm.
Here's the home of the Hawks, right?
And you're literally across the street from State Farm Arena. Behind us is Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Access right across the street to this entire establishment.
I just think in the world we're in now, we need to connect. We need to see we have more in common than not. I see that all the time in our arena. Having that downtown, having sports, having entertainment, all of that, that is so important. It's time for people to come together.
The biggest challenge will be to make sure that all of our communities get to be a part of it. That it's not this place that people are outside the glass looking in.
Tony Ressler, he's like Hank Aaron, came here when we needed a winner. Hopefully it will become the axle around which the city will spin. We got a vision of the city of the future.